Welcome back, Numismatics Hub. Have you ever walked past a quarter, tossed carelessly on the sidewalk without a second thought? What if I told you that very coin could be worth more than your monthly salary? Maybe even more than your car. One simple quarter, minted in 1994, might just hold a hidden fortune in its worn ridges and faded face. Yes, a coin that countless people spent on gum, laundry, or vending machines could now be worth up to $340,000. It's not a fantasy. It's a fascinating story of overlooked treasure waiting patiently in pockets, jars, and drawers across America. And today, we're going to uncover every remarkable detail behind the 1994 Washington quarter, how it was born, what secrets it hides, and why collectors are willing to pay a small fortune for a coin once worth just 25 cents. The story doesn't start in 1994. To truly appreciate the magic of this coin, we have to rewind several decades, back to 1932, a year marked by the Great Depression, breadlines, and one of the most celebrated figures in American history, George Washington. That year, the U.S. Mint released a brand new quarter design to commemorate the 200th birthday of the nation's first president. Sculptor John Flanagan was tasked with capturing Washington's likeness, and what he created was more than just a profile on metal. It became an enduring image that symbolized leadership, resilience, and the foundation of the American dream. That original design stood the test of time, barely changing over the decades, and by 1994 it was still proudly gracing the quarter dollar, a coin that was by then as American as apple pie and baseball. In the early 90s, the world was shifting. The Cold War had ended. The internet was beginning to awaken. And in quiet corners of the U.S. Mint, machines were stamping out millions of quarters, many of which would disappear into circulation without anyone giving them a second glance. But hidden among them were a few coins that were different, rare errors, unusual compositions, and high-grade examples so pristine that they would one day become the darlings of elite coin auctions. The 1994 Washington quarter was struck at multiple mint locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. Each mint produced millions of coins, but their stories unfolded in different ways. Most coins were used, handled, and forgotten. But some escaped that fate, sealed away in collector rolls, special mint sets, or accidentally preserved in drawers. And among these survivors, a few carried minting anomalies, making them unique, valuable, and irresistibly fascinating to numismatists and treasure hunters alike. Why would a coin from 1994 be worth more than $27,000? Or even $340,000? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and sometimes serendipity. A coin with a perfect strike, free from wear, boasting full luster and sharp detail, becomes a rare gem in a sea of ordinary metal. Add an error, a double die, offset or strike, or a planchet mix-up, and suddenly, that quarter becomes a collector's dream. Some of these coins are so rare that only one or two have ever surfaced in top grades. Their value skyrockets not just because of their physical condition, but because of the story they tell, a story of survival, mystery, and hidden worth. Imagine being one of the few who owns such a coin. You pull out your change, spot a familiar face, and notice something's off: the edges, the shine, the weight. You look closer, then closer still, and realize you might be holding a coin worth tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's happened before. It will happen again. And maybe, just maybe, it could happen to you. This is not fiction. This is the remarkable tale of the 1985 Washington quarter, a coin you've probably seen countless times, maybe even spent without a second thought. But for the lucky few who found something unusual, something rare, their ordinary afternoon turned into a life-changing discovery. To understand the value of this small silver-colored coin, we have to step back in time. The year was 1985. Ronald Reagan was president. The Cold War still loomed large, and America was charging full speed into the age of computers and consumerism. Amid all this, the U.S. Mint continued its task of producing billions of coins, humble daily tools that most Americans never paused to admire. But tucked within the flurry of coins that year, something peculiar happened. A handful of quarters came off the presses unlike any others. The Washington quarter had already been in circulation since 1932, born to commemorate the 200th birthday of America's first president. Sculpted by John Flanagan, the coin's design featured a dignified profile of George Washington on the obverse and a powerful eagle, wings spread on the reverse. It was a design that endured for decades, simple yet iconic. By 1985, the composition had long since changed. Gone was the silver of earlier years, replaced by copper-nickel clad. But even without precious metal, the 1985 quarter was destined to make history. The Philadelphia and Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of these coins that year. But a few anomalies began to slip through, the kind that catch a keen-eyed collector's attention. Some 1985 quarters featured double-die errors, where the design elements appeared slightly doubled due to misalignment during the minting process. In others, off-center strikes created a surreal appearance, with Washington's bust drifting awkwardly away from center. And then, there were quarters struck on planchets meant for other denominations entirely, like dimes, creating undersized, ghostly versions of the coin. Each of these errors made the coins vastly more rare. And far more valuable. One particular 1985 quarter gained notoriety for a reverse die crack, a fine, lightning-like line that ran through the eagle's wing, caused by a failing die that should have been replaced. That die crack, once a minting flaw, became a fingerprint of uniqueness. Collectors began to whisper about these coins, their values escalating with each confirmed discovery. What started as a common quarter transformed into a rare artifact, a mistake frozen in metal. But rarity isn't only about errors. Condition plays an equally powerful role in a coin's value. Most quarters from 1985 were used and abused, jingling in pockets, scraped in registers, dropped on sidewalks, or washed in machines. But a very few, were preserved. Found in uncirculated mint sets or forgotten rolls, these coins retained their original mint luster. Bright, clean, sharp. A perfect 1985 Washington quarter graded MS-68 or higher is exceedingly rare. In fact, one such coin, gleaming like the day it was struck, sold at auction for an astonishing $16,500. Another, with a dramatic double die and flawless surfaces, fetched an unbelievable $295,000. Not because it was made of silver or gold, but because of its story, its scarcity, and its surreal perfection. For a coin collector, these discoveries are the ultimate thrill, the heartbeat racing moment of realizing you've stumbled upon something extraordinary. Imagine finding one of these quarters in your change jar, inspecting it casually under a light, then noticing something strange, a doubling on the word liberty, an oddly misaligned eagle, or a glimmering surface untouched by circulation. That's not just a coin. That's a potential fortune. That's history you can hold. The emotional appeal of the 1985 Washington quarter lies in its mystery. It's not a commemorative issue. It's not made of precious metals. It was never intended to be rare. And yet, it defies the odds. It's the underdog of the numismatic world, the sleeper hit, the quiet champion. Its very ordinariness is what makes it so exciting. Anyone, anywhere might have one. And until you look, really look, you might never know. Stories continue to emerge from across the country. A teenager in Texas who inherited a jar of coins from his grandfather found a near-perfect 1985 quarter, which later appraised for tens of thousands. A woman in Michigan, sorting laundry, spotted an off-center strike she almost dismissed as damage. It turned out to be a rare mint error worth more than $20,000. These aren't myths. They're documented finds. They remind us that treasure isn't always buried. Sometimes it's resting quietly in the palm of your hand. What should you look for if you want to join the ranks of lucky collectors? First, examine the obverse carefully. Any doubling on Washington's face, the word liberty, or the date could indicate a valuable double die. Then flip it over. Check the eagle for die cracks, off-center alignment, or ghosting. Is the edge perfectly round and milled, or does it appear miscut, clipped, or unusual in any way? Even the coin's weight could give clues. Some errors are struck on the wrong planchets entirely. That if you believe you found a potential rarity, don't clean it. Don't try to fix it. Simply store it safely and consult a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. A professional assessment could mean the difference between a common coin and a life-altering payout. At Numismatics Hub, we believe that every coin has a story. Some are epic, some are humble. But the 1985 Washington quarter has a story filled with surprises, a quiet coin that hid in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice. It's a reminder that in a world chasing the next big thing, sometimes the most amazing treasures are the ones we've overlooked. The next time you get change at the grocery store, pause. Look closely. That old quarter might just be your golden ticket. And if it has the right combination of condition, rarity, and error, it could turn out to be worth $16, $500, or even an incredible $295,000. The only question left is, will you be the one to find it?